Sion Kölsch.
Remember, life is too short to be drinking shitty beer.
Welcome to another edition of Bands, Bikes and Booze Reviews. I've got another one from Cologne, another Kölsch from Cologne I should say, and it's the Sion Kölsch. And you could argue that this is probably the most important brewer of Kölsch in Cologne. Now, I've gone over the history of Kölsch and the type of beer it is in other videos. If you check out the Fru video, if you check out the Dom video and the other Kölsch videos on my channel, you'll get a bit of a history of the tradition and what Kölsch is. But I'm just really going to give you a very potted history of what it is here, just in case this is the first video you're seeing about Kölsch. It's basically a top fermented beer that is brewed with top fermenting yeast. However, it is lagered in cold storage, very similar to a lager. The result is a bit of a hybrid. I've likened it to a cross between a lager and a pilsner with a touch of golden ale on top of it as well. But that's basically what it is. The upshot is it's top fermenting yeast brewed in a lager style without the bottom fermenting yeast, if you know what I mean. Complicated, yeah, I know. And it goes back to, I think it's the 1500s when bottom fermented beer was becoming really popular in Germany, and it was threatening the brewers in Cologne who were ardent using top fermenting yeast in their beers. And it was decreed that they would only be allowed to use top fermenting yeast to preserve that tradition and to try and compete with the lagers. They brewed the beer with top fermenting yeast but in a lager style, and it's carried on through then. And only beer that's brewed inside of the Cologne Cathedral, they reckon, can be called Kölsch. And believe it or not, the fella who decreed that this was only decreed recently, and if you look at the EU geographical protected status on it, that's where that comes from. But the fella who instigated that, and they call him the father of Kölsch, that is Hans Sion, and he was the fella who sort of took over the Sion Brewery. He actually was in charge of it during World War II, and it got flattened in 1942 during the 1,000 bomber raid. If you look up RAF Bomber Command, they did a 1,000 bomber raid on Cologne. It was quite well known. It was the first time it had ever been done, and they absolutely flattened Cologne. And in amongst the rubble was the Sion Brewery, and he rebuilt it after the war, and it's gone from strength to strength. I think it's been taken over now. I'm not sure. I couldn't get that information. They're not very forthcoming, these Cologne brewers. They will not tell you what yeast or what malts they use, and they certainly don't give any information away about the strains of yeast that they're using or the hops either. And they certainly don't give you any information about the malt or the hops that they're using, and they certainly don't give you any information about the yeast that they're brewing. So it really is just me going on the taste of beer. It conforms to the Reinheitsgebot, so it's going to be pretty clean drinking, and for all intents and purposes your average lager drinker will not know the difference either by sight or by the taste. Now, just a quick word on the tradition of Kölsch. It should be drunk in what's called a Stange, and that is German for the word pole, as in not a Polish person but a pole, a long pole. That is sort of reminiscent of the glass. It's usually served in these 300 ml glasses or no, 250ml, is it, or 330ml? I can't work it out. I don't know. I don't care. It's 330ml. I don't care. Of course I care. And it's the emphasis for using this glass is on freshness, because if you have a bigger glass, obviously it's going to get warmer, and you know, as you're drinking, the waiter will just come round, fill your glass up with more beer, and the way to signify, this is in Cologne, this is, and the way to signify you don't want any more beer, you just put a beer mat on the top, and they stop filling your glass, because if you don't, they'll just come round and fill it. Very dangerous, I think. But anyway, that's enough about the tradition. Let's investigate the beer. .500ml bottle. As is normal on a Kölsch, it is under 5%. You're normally looking around 4.8 to 5% for a Kölsch. Possibly a little bit over, sometimes a little bit less than that, but that's the sort of standard. And yeah, of course, this is a traditional Kölsch. It's brewed in Cologne, and that's in the Rhine-Westphalia region of northwest Germany. And it's, as I said before, it's got the EU protected status on it. There is the label, and there is the cap. Now, many people cite Fru as being the best Kölsch that come from Cologne. I've tried that, reviewed it, really liked it. This one, however, has got probably the biggest, sort of, certainly in recent years, the biggest tradition, if you like. Hans Sion was called the father of Kölsch because of that. I think he died in 1998, so that tradition has been carried on from him. Anyway, enough about that. Let's get this stuff open. Right, there is the cap. That is going in the collection. Right, let's get it into the glass. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to pour out all the bottle, but what I can is going to go in this glass. And here it is. As you can see, it does look like a lager. What are we getting on the nose? Pretty similar to the Dom stuff that I've just tried. It's got quite grassy and herbal notes, some sweet malt, a little lemon citrus, like a lager basically. Let's get it down the hatch. Prost, as they say in Germany. Now that's a bit different. I'm getting more of a biscuit malt on that one. Before I was getting more of a doughy bread type malt. That's got a bit more of a biscuit malt on it, and I'm not sure whether it's because it's a little bit warmer than the other one, but this is tasting a bit more like a, almost like a blonde ale mixed with a lager. There's a lot more earth on this one. I wasn't getting that on the Dom Kölsch. This has got more of an earthy finish to it, whereas the other Dom stuff had more of a herbal, grassy type finish on it, and this has got a bit more of a bitter finish as well. It's perfectly drinkable. It is, for all intents and purposes, it's a lager, even though it's not, if you know what I mean. To be honest, I don't think they probably would have sold much trying to compete with the rest of the German lagers that are around if it tasted radically different, and Kölsch has got a hell of a long tradition. So yeah, this is this is like a lager, but it's different from the Sion Kölsch that I've just tried. The sweetness on the malt is less pronounced, in my opinion, and it's got more of a hop character than it has of a malt. The Dom stuff was quite balanced. This has got, I think, stronger flavours of hop, noble hop character. That sort of type of flavour. The earth, black pepper. There's a little, don't get me wrong, there's a little touch of lemon citrus on there, and there is a little touch of spice, but it's more earth than anything else. And I have to say, it's quite nice. Yeah. I have to say, I do like Kölsch though. It's one of them styles that, you know, not that I'm saying it claims to be different, but it's brewed with top fermenting yeast, but for all intents and purposes it does taste like a lager. However, that one, on the initial mouthful, it did taste a bit more like a sort of golden ale, if you know what I mean, like a British golden ale. Had a bit more body to it. There was biscuit malt on there. That's still there, but there's more German hop character on there. It's not as fruity as some British golden ales, but it's nice, I will say that. Certainly very drinkable, very refreshing. You won't go wrong with Kölsch, really. So what's the verdict on Sion Kölsch? Yeah, really good. I do like it. Now, it just does everything that a good lager does, and I have to say that I don't think I've tasted a bad Kölsch. They're all really good. This one, you know, this has got a lot of tradition, certainly recent tradition in the world of Kölsch. Is it the best Kölsch? I don't think so. I think the best one I tried, I think, is the Fru stuff. That was really good. But honestly, this stuff is not bad at all. You know, if you like lagers, if you like Helles, if you like Pilsners, you're going to like this. And in fact, I think you're going to like most Kölsches. To the untrained palate, this is just a lager. And to the, you know, even to the seasoned beer enthusiasts, I defy them to tell the difference between a lager and a Kölsch. It's that, you know, it's that similar. I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's just one of them ones. It's a solid Kölsch. It tastes nice. It's refreshing. It does everything that a Kölsch is supposed to do. Conforms to the Reinheitsgebot. No nasties in there. So yeah, that's an 8.5 out of 10 from me. Recommend it all day long. I got it from, I think it was Beers of Europe, and it was quite cheap. I think it was about $2.50 or $2.60, something like that. So yeah, fill your boots, as they say. And remember, beer is working class champagne.